Welcome to Confluence, the podcast where hospitality, leadership, and mindset come together. Join your hosts, Santiago and Kristin, co-founders of the Colombian, a multi-cafe and roastery in Canada, as they delve into the transformative power of these three key elements on your business.
So, Kristin, Confluence podcast, long time coming.
Confluence podcast, episode number 1. We're here. We're ready to get started.
I know. I'm very excited. We talked about this for many years, and I think we finally have the time and like the resources and the wisdom to maybe share with some people what we've done over the past 7.5 years.
So, Confluence, when we were deciding on a name for our podcast, it was on a road trip in the mountains, and we were brainstorming what could we call our podcast that would really represent what we really want to talk about and what we want to share. So why Confluence?
Well, Confluence, I think it's, when we looked it up, it really came down to the fact that three rivers come together and they make a confluence. And we really thought that something that has made the Colombian, which is not a coffee company, but we're a hospitality company, that has made it very successful, I think, has been hospitality. I think we have included a lot of leadership, and I think you have contributed a lot of mindset from the get-go. So I think the confluence of those three aspects have really allowed us to make the Colombian what it is today.
And I think a lot of our listeners may be expecting a podcast that's about coffee, but what we're really excited to share with you is those three pieces that make up Confluence. So those three really pivotal pieces that have actually allowed us to grow the type of business that we want. And that's, again, leadership, hospitality, and mindset. So, you had mentioned that we're not necessarily just a coffee of business, but we're actually in the business of hospitality. So, we talk about this all the time, almost every day, that really hospitality is at the heart of what we're doing. And I love the way that you explain it. So let's tell our guests why hospitality and why this is so important and integral to who we are.
Well, I think my life has prepared me for hospitality, and I've always been very passionate about it. And I think from the onset of when I first started working, when I was 14 years old, I always had jobs that required me to deal with people. And I think one of my gifts have been to make people feel special. So when we came to the Colombian, I realized that, yes, coffee is very important. But the reality is that today, in the world that we live in, most producers in a very famous producing country such as Colombia, they're very well versed in producing excellent coffees. Like, that's why Colombian coffee is well known throughout the world. But I think what a lot of people fail to realize these days is that coffee is not about just that seed or that beverage, but it's about the connection that it actually provides for people. So when we said, let's do the Colombian, something that really resonated with us. I remember being in Seattle. I went to sit in a conference. You were in another one, and then I got a text, and you're like, "Oh, you got to get here. You got to listen to these guys." And that's the first introduction I had to Chris Baca and Jared Truby from Cat and Cloud, where they started talking about like values-based company for you to be able to scale up, for you to put like culture at the forefront, and that just really resonated with me. Because they put customer service at the forefront. And yeah, like coffee, I'm passionate about coffee. I love that beverage. I love what we do at Origin. Like, I grew up in a coffee farm. My uncle owns a coffee farm today. But I love how deeply we are intentional about taking care of people. And like, if you look at our core focus as a company, it's not like having the best coffees, because we already do, is making people feel special. And I think like that dictates everything around our business, and every decision that we make is about hospitality. And I think I want to share that with more business owners, because the other thing that I recognize is we started 8 years ago, we decided we're going to do the Colombian. We opened our first coffee shop 7.5 years ago, and nobody mentored us into this is really what a business, especially in hospitality, requires. We got a bunch of like really good kind of like messages from the podcast that we listen from Cat and Cloud, but at the end of the day, like we made our own decisions as to what was going to be the Colombian, and a lot of them have to do with how we treat people and how doesn't matter what industry you are, it revolves around hospitality and like those soft skills that everybody has. I don't know, what would you add? Like I think you have been one of the visionaries with the Colombian, so I think you have also added a lot of different ways of hospitality to our business.
Yeah. I remember so clearly that first coffee expo when we had split up and gone to different seminars. And we, at this point, we were so new in coffee, we didn't even know who Cat and Cloud was. And when I texted you, I was like, you need to get here right now. And we were so inspired by kind of their messaging. And so, of course, we like immersed ourselves into like listening to their podcast. And we did get a lot of mentorship from that. And of course, we have really turned it into something that is our own. But I would say, like, in terms of that hospitality, I think both of us, before the Colombian, have always had that gift of hospitality and caring for other people. I think to have hospitality, can you learn it? Absolutely. You can learn. There's specific steps and strategies that you can take. But my belief is that it is something that that is a gift, that you do have this deep desire to make other people feel seen, to make them feel special, to make them feel valued. And that is what you and I both have personally always been about. We love hosting people and taking care of people and making people feel special. And it's something that we have brought into our business from the very, very beginning. And I truly know that our hospitality that we offer and all of our team, we now have 60 people on our staff.
It is absolutely nuts when you think about it.
It is absolutely nuts. But we've like gathered together these 60 incredible humans that also I see in them that they experience a lot of joy just giving that gift of hospitality to others. And when you look at our customers and the feedback, it resonates so strongly that people feel really special when they come in our shop, and they just feel seen by our team and by us. And I believe that if more companies understood the power of just really small things to make people feel special, it would transform everything for them. Not only, when the customers that are coming in and how many customers, a day that you see, but even just like in the purpose behind what your business is. I know for myself and for you, we want to be part of something that's very purposeful. We don't want to just do something for the heck of doing it, or doing something because we just, need to, make money. It really is about so much more than that.
100%. I do agree with you. I think a lot of people these days talk about like, oh, you got to follow your passions. I think passions come and go. What's more meaningful to people and what's more long lasting is like, what's your purpose on this world? How can you do something every day that contributes to that purpose? And that's really going to create change rather than just like jumping in today's newscast bandwagon. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we do that every day through hospitality. I guess the other thing that is that this podcast is going to provide a lot of people is that woo-woo side of things that I think you have been pivotal and really like the one that has shown me how important mindset around business and around your life is very important. So why don't you share with us about mindset?
Absolutely. So mindset, I mean, it's a pretty basic and general word. I think it helps to encompass that more kind of energetic side of life. And from the very beginning, even before our business, since I was probably about 12 years old, my mom actually really got me thinking about, that side of life and really, using the power of your words, the power of your thoughts, the power of like that spiritual connection to actually experience a lot more depth in your life. So from the very beginning of the business, we really created a vision of what we wanted, you and I together. I remember, writing things down just like on random pieces of paper and in little books. And sometimes if I'm going through things, I will like discover one of these papers from several years ago. And it's really special reading it now, because I want to say almost every single thing that we've experienced, we actually wrote it down before it ever happened. I think to have the mindset that that we have that ability to have that faith and to actually see and to trust the vision that you have, that it could actually happen and come true, is like a massive part of our business, and how things have really kind of unraveled for us.
Yeah, I would agree. I think something that you have been a big influence for me has been writing things down. And I remember even like before coffee, like when I had my construction company, where things weren't going great, and you were like, well, write what you want, write yourself a check for what you want to make. And I looked at you like you were absolutely nuts. And then like 6 months later, I'm like, oh my God, all these things that I wrote down and like all this money that I want to be making, I'm making. So that was kind of like my first experience with it. And then I think after that, I started like dabbling a little bit more into kind of like the vision boarding and all those sort of things. But definitely, I think the Colombian has been like the big picture around mindset, that if you find purpose and you align that purpose with your mindset, you can do anything. Like
anything.
If somebody asked me 10 years ago, where do you want your life to be in 10 years? I would have been like, oh, I'm just going to be a volume builder. I'm going to build houses. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Where I feel so lucky today that I'm doing what I'm doing because I find a lot of purpose in it. But it's because I shifted that mindset that I wanted to do something in hospitality, something that gave me purpose, something that gave me connection with people. And I think that's what we wrote down with the Colombian. Like, we wanted to be like a community staple. We wanted to bring coffee from our family's farm. Then we realized that we needed more than our family's farm. And then like we started working with all those producers in Colombia. So we started writing down like, we want to work with X amount of producers. We want to bring X amount of coffees. We want to be in these areas of the community. And that was very, very powerful. And like today we find ourselves with 5 coffee shops with 60 people that I'm going to say 80% of them are the right people in the right seats, and the other 20% are being formed, because I feel so lucky and so blessed to have the team that we have, because all of these individuals that we have today, I would say, are very aligned with our core focus, which is to make people feel special. But that comes all from the mindset. And I think the biggest thing what I experienced mindset was at the beginning of the pandemic. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember listening to a very famous, I forget his name right now, but a famous entrepreneur. And he said that he made most of his money and he had most of his success during the Depression and when the economy was really, really bad. And I started listening, somebody started asking him, like, why? Like how do you do it? And he's like, well, when something bad happens, I just tell myself, I'm not going to take part in this bad thing that is going to happen.
I remember this.
And I remember, like, when the pandemic started, I remember calling you and being like, this thing is happening in Asia right now. It's not going to be good, but we're not going to take part in it. And I can tell you right now, like, I think the pandemic was like pivotal for us because it actually launched us into a lot of success. Like, we did not close a single day during the pandemic. We followed all the rules, but we did anything and everything that we could to stay open. And I think that made us a community staple, because that mindset actually gave sanity to a lot of people in the community that did not have a place to go. So I think that's a proof that mindset is great, and it actually allowed us to kind of like create that goodwill in the community.
Absolutely. That's such a great example. Sometimes mindset can be a little less tangible to actually describe, but it really is we decided, I remember we actually spoke the words to each other. Okay, we're not going to take part in this. We're going to continue forging ahead, doing what we're doing, serving our community. And, mindset comes with a lot of work. You're not just going to have a mindset and then just sit back. So there's definitely many aspects to it, but just, the words that we speak over our business, over our lives, the words that we speak are extremely powerful. And that's something else that we've done. We've always really kept our eyes on ourselves. We haven't, had our eyes distracted on what other similar businesses are doing or are not doing. And we've always used words to speak over our business. Even if things are stressful or something is maybe falling apart, we've really harnessed like that mindset and that energetic side of life to really keep us focused and keep us on the right path moving forward. And something that I definitely know that we'll be doing during this podcast is delving more into, okay, how exactly do you do this? And that's for each and every piece, of our main focus for the podcast is we do want to offer that mentorship to people because it's something that we would have loved to have more of when we were starting our business.
Can you imagine? I just gotta give it back to Jared Truby and Chris Baca. Like, I remember the early days of the Colombian. Like some of their wisdom and some of the stuff that they share. Like it helped so much, and it was so inspirational in the business. But I think there was more to be learned, and honestly, I think the biggest thing about this podcast is, I want to get back to small business owners because I think the common denominator with a lot of small business owners is that they have the guts to go and open a business, which is the hardest part, I think, like making that decision. Yeah. But then they are just business operators. And I think there's a difference between operating a business and actually owning a business. And I've had enough people and I've had enough experiences, and I would say the same thing for you, that we have learned that you cannot be operating, you need to own the place. And I think that's where leadership really comes into place.
Absolutely.
Where you need to be the leader of the organization and you need to bring the right people, you have to have them in the right seats so that you can create that accountability. And I remember reading a book by Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership, and he used to be in the military, and he said, everything that happens in your business is your fault. And if it's really good, great, it's your fault that it's that good. If things are going sideways, it is your fault. And then when you take that type of ownership around your business and you lead with that in mind, it changes how the business does. And then you move from that realm of just operating a business to make a living, to actually like be a true entrepreneur that is actually owning the business, that is actually setting up systems, that is finding the people that align with the values in your company, that you actually leverage their purpose and you align it with your business and the purpose of your business. And that's how we have found those 80% of employees that align with what we do. And it allows us to do what we do at the Colombian. So I want to mentor other business owners into doing that so that they're not just putting all this energy and they're just like spinning their wheels. Mm-hmm. I want them to just like get back as much as they put in, because I also remember like I was reading a thing where they talked about like this Korean guy in San Francisco that his son became a very well-known entrepreneur, and he said, I never want to be like my father, which immigrated from Korea after the war, and he had a dry cleaning business and he worked there 7 days a week, 16-hour days, but they lived in poverty the whole time. And he's like, I don't want to own my own business because of that. And I think through like working for other people, he realized I also don't want to work for somebody else because I like to be in charge. But he realized that it's not about how much input you put, it's about how much output you get out of your business. So if you set it up in a way that is actually that where you're an entrepreneur, you can actually then measure how much you put in and how much return you get out of it, and you're able then to scale the business. Not complain about your employees, because if you complain about your employees, it means that maybe you're not the right leader and you need to take ownership for that, or maybe you just don't have the right people in the right seats, and it doesn't mean that those people are bad. It means that they're just not the right people for that job. And it's okay to send to release them back into the workforce so that they can actually find a meaningful place for them to work, because you need people that are just aligned with what you do. And I think that comes with leadership and taking that ownership. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to share with people from that side of this podcast, because I'm really passionate about being able to help other people, because we inadvertently got mentorship from many other people in different ways that have helped us get the Colombian to where it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and even with that leadership, developing that leadership and that like radical accountability within yourself, I've seen it happen within our own business. The people that we have surrounded ourselves with and filled the Colombian with, these are people who just have such a passion to like grow and actually to watch them grow into leaders, whether it's through example or whether it's through like actual intentional like training and coaching. That's also something that I and you are really passionate about. Is it's not just about the business. It's not just about your customers, your people, like our team, to actually like pour it into our team and the people that actually want to grow in their skills and in their leadership ability. We've actually found some really creative ways to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on it. And I think what I've learned is that if you take care of your culture in your company and you take care of your people, and it's never going to be perfect, there's always going to be things, but if you're intentional about that, you will definitely reap the benefits, because the right people will be there and they'll take care of your guests, they'll take care of your business, they'll take full ownership, but you got to take care of your people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm very excited that we're doing this. Like we talked about it for so many years, and like let's do it, but it just never was a good time. And like now, the fact that we have a great team that allow us to have the time to do this, I'm very excited to start doing this at least on a monthly basis, where we get just to share small nuggets with the world, and hopefully somebody will find inspiration like we did one day when we listened to a podcast.
Absolutely. So Confluence, where hospitality, leadership, and mindset come together.
Confluence.